Are we all cured? We've gone to fucking... We've gone through the fucking shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Man, oh man, what a day was yesterday. Blu3boy dropped the bomb, dropped a psychological evaluation of Mr. Penis, and it was telling. Now, I agree with a lot of things, but that's what we call an eval light. That's one that is done, it's a surface eval. They don't go in depth like these serial killers and all of these other weirdos, people with serious sex offender problems. See, that's Lorne. He has a serious problem. However, because he didn't actually perpetrate the crimes, because he didn't actually follow through with them, to their knowledge, he is a thought crime. As when thought crimes, it's all thought crimes. He has thoughts, so they evaluate him for his thoughts. Had there been some kind of real action, I believe there would have been a 3-step evaluation. And I'm not talking about just 1 meeting, 2 meetings, 3 meetings. I'm talking about the assessment of his thoughts, what he's having, an in-depth look at why he's having, all of the things, all of the factors that went into that moment. They would have started from his childhood, really dug in, forced him to talk about anything that they thought might have pushed him to think about these things. And then finally, they would go into the entire sting situation. If they found out about other children, they would have been talking about them, MySpace Molly, whoever else. It would have been an in-depth discussion and a true evaluation of this psycho. Now, they did the lie detector test, but I would imagine they would do the lie detector even more when they got to these other evals, because when you get to that point, you need it. However, legal reasons, Lorne Armstrong, I don't know all of the ramifications of what he's done and whether or not he can be forced whenever they want to be put on a lie detector, even during a psychological eval. If it was court mandated, yes, they can. But any follow-ups, any in-depth, unless they are ordered by the court, I don't think he has to subject himself to a lie detector test. And that would be an issue. When you are dealing with a compulsive liar and a sociopath, psychopath, you know Lorne, someone who is going to lie, to get a manipulator, to get out of everything. In the short time this psychologist, unless it was some kind of nurse practitioner, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because sometimes a nurse practitioner will do the eval and a doctor will review it and then they will sign off on it. The equivalent of a psych nurse practitioner, they will sign off on that evaluation after they review the evaluation and not the patient. So let me say this. In that short amount of time they spoke to him, just a short amount of time, they discovered things that we've all known. But I will say this, at their disposal were hundreds of hours of phone calls that I would have forced myself to go through, because it is a treasure trove of evidence to what kind of lunatic he is and what a danger he is and a liar he is. They touched on it a little. They talked about how he held a grudge and whatever else. And the bottom line is that he's a rage monster. This isn't some kind of hold a grudge. He is a danger. He is a rage monster. So when you're evaluating him based on what you're seeing in person, unless he goes full Edward Norton in Primal Instinct, you're not going to see it. His behavior, relationship OCD, bipolar, reactive attachment disorder, everything that intersects right in the middle, all of that should have been picked up on and addressed. Lorne's discussion about Catfish Woman, It's his fault. We all know it's his fault. He chooses to do that. There should have been a huge piece in there about desperation and the problems that desperation is causing him. And there should be some real treatment. Things I talked about. How to speak to women. How to act. And it should be a year long, and he should have to role play. But that didn't come out of it. He shouldn't drink. He shouldn't be catfished. If I'm the psych, my recommendation is he never gets on the internet unless it is supervised by someone from the state or a fed. His phone, as I've said before, should be limited. Who he can call, what times he can call. He should only have certain numbers that are approved. It should be a child's phone. Because if it's not, he's going to get scammed. He's a danger to himself, not just others. He blamed everything for his drinking. So again, if his substance abuse is such a big issue for you, then you should have just gone a lot deeper. You should have started that 3-phase eval about why this guy, if you don't watch him every second of every day, is going to reoffend. Whatever your offense is that you're going to charge him with, whatever violations, he's going to do it again. So you're going to have to dig really deep. But I think when you're dealing with state therapists and psychologists, they don't have the time to spend on a nobody redneck from Cornville, Maine, that is currently isolated. And they probably think about it. They take that into consideration. I know how I would think about it. I'd have to weigh how much is a danger is he? How much of a danger is he? Where's he located? What kind of access does he have to kids? I know why, and we all know why his brothers and sisters move away. We know that he bought them the short shorts because he wanted to check them out. So much came out. The 9-year-old, listen to me. The thoughts about a 9-year-old should have gotten him locked up immediately. His admission that he was masturbating to minors. His admission that he had Little House on the Prairie on because he was fantasizing about Mary. Come on. I would have reported that to his probation and parole, and I would have focused on it. I would have emphasized it. I'm emphasizing that. Pay very close attention. I would have emphasized it and told them, look, he's admitting it to me. He's going on the internet looking at pictures of minors. That's instant lockup. Instant. Rabbi David K. with his phone we talked about. Had he just had the phone and it had only been to go on Instagram to see only his family, he would have gotten in trouble, slap on the wrist, maybe a little time. But he was going looking at porn, looking at things he shouldn't have been looking at. There is no difference between going online and looking at naked children and going online and looking at children in that way. When I go to a store, I'm very uncomfortable because I don't like to be with a bunch of young girls talking about boyfriends, grabbing clothes, going to the chain. I just feel weird. Any guy, look, when your wife goes in somewhere, you feel weird. But I let my daughter go in, I sit outside. If she wants me to look at something, I come in, I look at it, and I get the hell out. I'm uncomfortable because that is not the environment. That's not my environment. It's a young people's environment. It's the store is targeted at a certain group. Do I think Lorne would go into a store like that? I'm making a point here. A store targeted to young girls? Probably not. However, I do think he would sit outside in a chair, peeking out of the corner of his eye constantly. You know how he did that when Emma was there, and I think Raptor Bacon even highlighted in one of his videos those weird eye motions where he's looking. So I'm going to take a step back again. Lorne, I have questions. I have questions whether or not it's the age, whether or not it's the thought of being alone and not the sexual act. I had those thoughts. But I think we know now it's more than that. It's much deeper. And I wondered, if it was the age, would Lorne, and I don't know, would he also secretly fantasize about 13-year-old boys? Feminine-looking boys. Whatever that means. What do they call it? Femboy. Femboy. I know that term because of my daughter. Or it was one of her friends. I can't remember. But I remember hearing that one of the boys at school called himself that. And they jokingly called him pretty, which I thought was funny. But then again, young people, crazy, right? All this shit makes me uncomfortable to talk about. So I wonder, again, if Lorne showed up and it was a boy and he had long hair and it was a boy who wore makeup, if he didn't just say, fuck it, I'm gonna have sex finally, somehow. He's so desperate. And I'm gonna go back to the fact that the desperation is something I would have focused on. It's something I definitely at least would have revisited. Because his desperation, that contributes to a lot of his problems. That contributes to a lot of them. Because he's willing to do anything, accept anything, just to get attention. Just for the thought of a relationship with a real woman. And what I find really interesting is I think the catfish, he settles for the catfish because he doesn't have access to the young children. If he lived in the city and there were young girls in the neighborhood, he would be Uncle Creepy. He'd be trying to talk to them. He'd make the neighbors uncomfortable. The kids would be told, don't talk to Uncle Creepy over there. I'm going to reread this document. I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to reread this document. And I'm going to go through it. And I'm going to use all of the tools I was given in class. I'm going to use all of the examples because we did case studies. I told you guys we did case studies. We did an evaluation on each other. And man, oh man, mine was interesting. Thank God it was just a paper. It was a review by the professor. Everybody get the hell out. And I jokingly told Chris, please throw that away. Please throw it away. So he did. I don't know if he still got a digital copy, but it was pretty funny to me because he's pretty accurate. So I will say this about Lorne's obsession with young girls, because this seems to be the biggest problem of his. It's something he went to prison for. He went back to prison for his substance abuse, but he went to prison for the sting. He went to prison because of Kayla Precious Princess, because he had thoughts, he wanted to act on those thoughts. He wanted to be alone with the 13-year-old, and he asked her to count her hairs. Now, I know you can't go back to 2, 6, 7, whatever it was. I don't remember off the top of my head. You can't go back and treat him like he's the guy. But when you say the words, he's been in sex offender class for 9 years. He needs serious treatment. And he needs that 3-step evaluation. You can't fix 9 years of denial, 9 years of thoughts of children, 9 years of drunkenness. You can't fix that by just doing a surface eval, giving you a recommendation, and moving on. Lorne should forever be in prison. To admit, man, to admit what he admitted. 9-year-old girl singing the national anthem. Instant incarceration. When I am told about Paula and Nikki, and I'm his psychologist, I'm going to want extensive details. Not just, I was headed to a relationship, we talked for 6 months. No, you didn't, Lorne. It was a one-sided fucking conversation, and had the psychologist listened to any amount of your phone calls on the way home, on the way to work, whenever they could, they would have known it only takes you to form a relationship. And only when you agree, a relationship is over. So they would have known there was no Paula, there was no Nikki. Every time you tried to get involved with a woman, some kind of intervention happened, whether it be legal, whether it be familial, some kind of intervention. Just listening to those, doing a little bit of research. Do what I did. Find some people. See if it's a pattern of behavior that started from a long time ago. Speak to his siblings about his nieces. Talk to them. Find out what really happened. Confront Lorne. Say, I've got the same account from all of your siblings, and you're telling me that they accidentally purchased them shorts because they slipped them in your cart and you just happened not to notice. I would not accept that. I would have to dig deeper. I would have to make him give me specifics. I would want to know all about Paula. I would want to know all about what they talked about. How long, when did they talk? Where did they talk? See, where did they talk is important. Where did this 6 months of conversation happen? I had a theory that in addition to what I told you about, they got introduced and he just kind of happened to be in the vicinity sometimes. He would show up. I mean, paper or plastic, we talked about it. Oh, she wants me. I thought maybe they worked together, or someone he knew that knew her worked with her, and he would go pick that person up, which would give him quality time with Paula. Hi. And she's like, oh shit, let me get in the car. There's something broken inside this man. Something that causes him to freak out. Now, she called it sensitive and hypervigilant. Hypervigilant means paranoid. It's somebody who doesn't trust anyone. Someone who forms these thoughts in his head, which is something bipolar and some psychopaths do, and they have to create some kind of tension with their victim. So I think Lorne, he imagines all of this crap. Tony, anybody he gets angry at, he just assumes, because well, Tony must be thinking what a piece of shit I am. Well, I'm not going to have that. Hey, Lorne, how you doing? Fuck you, Tony. The next person who evaluates him, they need to go back and listen to these calls. Now, they can't be admissible in court, but they damn sure can be taken into consideration. And they can find out what they need to focus on. They can find out what he's capable of and just how dangerous he is. So my recommendation to them would be suck it up, listen to him like the rest of us did, but I want you to listen to them like I do, clinically. And then you'll find out what it is you truly need to do. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.